Today we're together with Patricia Lohan. And first of all, thank you for taking time to meet us. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited to be here for our conversation.
Yeah. We are going to talk about Feng Shui. And
Hmm.
first off, did I pronounce it correctly? So many people say Feng Shui or different versions of it. How would you
Yeah,
say?
so how I say it is feng shui. So I think you actually did a really good job. I'm actually not too bothered about how people pronounce it because I just want people implementing it. And if I had my way, I would rename it to feng shui because sometimes it has this notion of it being like, oh, big thing and hard in there. And I'm like, no, 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 it can be fun
Fun.
and really rewarding. So feng shui.
Yeah. So the reason I found it could be actually fun to have this talk is I remember when Cecilia came home with a book by someone you probably know called Karen Kingston.
Mm.
She had written this book.
What's the
What's
English
the
title?
English title? Do you remember the English title,
Clear
Patricia?
out your mess, or
Yeah,
Clear
clear
your
your
Ken.
you know
What
what?
was
You
clear your
what's the
clutter.
book, Ken, that you bought the
clear your
this is my
clutter.
husband, and
Yeah.
he had that book.
Hello.
So what was the book?
Karen Kingston. Not Sacred
So
Space.
we
Clear,
had it in Danish.
Clear
That's
Your
why I
Clutter, I
can't
think it was called.
remember.
I can't hear them, so
Yeah,
yeah,
clear
clear
your
your clutter.
clutter
Clear Your Clutter.
Clear,
with Feng
play change
Shui.
your life or something.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Karen Kingston book.
Yeah, he had the same book.
yeah. But
You can't remember when I came back with it because I had it before I met
she
you.
had it before we met. Yeah,
You
but
probably remember you.
Oh,
but I found it one day on the shelf and I was like, this is weird. And then I started reading a little in it and still found it a little weird. But I actually, over time, came to like it in the sense that back then I was more like a straight mind where it's like, I don't want to think about all these weird things and all this hippie, all
You,
this energy thing.
I'll interrupt you again
Yeah.
because my Karen Kingston book was on the shelf right next to your The Energy of Money
Oh,
book.
yeah. Okay.
So,
oh,
so what's the question? Maybe, we should ask
I will ask a
it.
question, but tell the story first, which is, um, what I found very pleasant about reading through the book was that taking major cleanups or like spring cleaning in your house
mhm.
can be so boring. But if you do it in this framework of, oh, now we're instead of just fixing all the mess of the cables below
Mhm.
our computer table, then it's I remember it was like the wealth area in our house.
Yeah,
It makes it more fun to do it
yes,
because it's positive instead of looking at all the cables and being like, it looks like a snake yard. I cannot do it. It's terrible. So
I
that
know.
that's my intro to it, and I would
Yeah,
then, of course, bring it over to you and just let you start with try to explain what it is. Not try, I'm
yeah.
pretty sure you can explain it, but can you explain it a little? What is feng shui?
So I really like the when you move the Chinese characters into kind of like an English way of understanding it means good health and good harvest. So feng shui means good health and good harvest, and it's an ancient practice. So it's like over 5,000 years old, and those sages spent eons looking to the stars without any technology and looking to nature to tune into like the best place to put their home that it would support them the most to have good health and good harvest. So, your book was beside the energy of money. Basically, feng shui is about that. It's about the health and the wealth and the abundance and prosperity. And it leans a lot sometimes to the abundance and prosperity, like the Chinese like love using it for that. But actually how I have really come to love it so much is that it is very much connected to that traditional Chinese medicine and to the philosophy of the Tao. And Taoism is all about the flow and allowing life to flow. And when these houses were more modern houses are built now, they're not built in alignment with the Tao. They're built because we have this plot and we're just going to put this house here and this house here, and because it needs to be in a line because that's where the road is. And it's not connected to a bigger sense of connection with nature. So when Feng Shui was kind of disseminated into, okay, well, how do we then recreate that energy of nature and how everything works in balance and harmony? You know, if you sit in your favorite place in nature, you're talking about being with all the trees and the flowers, and you just feel so good. And you see how nature flows perfectly, and you don't have to force it, you don't have to push it. It's the same with your house. When we work and when I work with my clients in my programs, what we're doing is looking at the house from a very kind of, and that's a very holistic viewpoint, that every part of your home represents a different part of your life, just like you touched on. But what we're doing is we want to we're bringing in the element that is going to harmonize that area so that there is balance, and you're working, that life is flowing through it as opposed to blocking it, because the houses have been built without that consciousness. And now we're kind of bringing in that nature consciousness into the home and tapping it in. And what I have seen over the last, so I got my first books about Feng Shui when I was 15, and I had and I think we all have like intuition and can have like intuitive gifts or whatever. And I definitely was tapped into the house that my family had just bought and renovated and moved into was off. There was something very off with what was going on. We were living in a small house. Excuse me. We were living in a very small house, and my parents' business was going really well, and we moved into, and they bought a new house in the best area, and they renovated it. It was like out of a magazine, like renovated, like amazing. And it was a very prosperous house, so there was a lot of abundance, a lot of wealth, and that, which was great. But on the other side, things that had never happened, so much illness, so much kind of drama, like legal issues and health issues that hadn't been anything like in our house before. So it's like, what has happened? And the only thing that changed was our house. And ironically, this house was perfect, aesthetically perfect, but on the inside and what was going on for the life was not. And so that was when I and I found these books and heard about it. I didn't even know how. Like, it must have been some afternoon TV show or something. Like, who knows? How does a 15-year-old in Ireland find out about Feng Shui? But I was just, there's something. So I got the books and started doing it. And then I actually got my parents to hire a Feng Shui consultant to come and like check the house. And true as it was not good for people, which then was representing all the things with the health and the money and all, and the kind of drama, the legal stuff. So when people ask me, how do you know if my house is bad Feng Shui? They often relate it to the aesthetic of the house. Like, oh, it's the way the decor is. And you walk in and it's like a magazine and it's beautiful. Like, that's not good. That's not necessarily good Feng Shui. I've worked a lot of beautiful interior designed houses that are not great Feng Shui. What it is, and when I hear it, I say, well, tell me what's going on in your life. Like, how's your relationships? How's your health? How's your career? Like, how's your finances? And then I'm able to say, well, it's a mirror. Your house, the energy of your house is a mirror to what's going on in your life. And if I listed those things and then I did an analysis of your house, I'd be like, well, the reason for that is because the energy is like this or like that. And then the nice thing is we can rebalance it. And that's what Feng Shui is to do. It's about bringing it back into harmony, because the houses are built not in harmony with nature like they would have been originally.
What you say make me consider, when we are talking about energy and the flow, then I'm thinking about, well, wouldn't it then be best to have a more organic shaped house? But basically, when people live in a house, they cannot really change the shape of the house. So what do you actually do to make the energy flow differently? Because the structure is the structure.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, that's a really great question, because you just work with the structure that you have. So it's not about changing the physical structure, you're changing the energy of the house. So, when we work with clients, some people, you might have heard, oh, the stairs in front of the front door is bad feng shui. And then you're like doomed. Like, you're not doomed. It's just one part of like a bigger piece of the jigsaw puzzle. It's not the best. If I was designing a brand new house, with a client, I'd be like, no, let's put a curve to it, or let's put it at an angle. But we don't have to do that with feng shui. Because it's exactly the same as acupuncture for your home. So acupuncture for your body, it's like the acupuncture will take the check, the pulse, and tune in and go, okay, that's out of balance. That's it. Okay, where do I put, what needles do I put into what part of the body to get the energy moving? And that's exactly what we do for a house, because it's the same. It's energy principles. And we will analyze the house based on the year it was built, the position of the house on the planet. So basically the compass readings for it. And then we'll figure out what's going on energetically based on these calculations, these amazing feng shui masters developed eons ago. And we can then analyze each area. So you talked about, the cables in the prosperity area, for example. Yeah. That on an aesthetic basis, yes, you can find the prosperity area and see what's in that area and kind of balance it. But that's the visible. With feng shui, we're working on the invisible energy. So we will then see that, I'll look at the prosperity area in the home, not physically look at it. I will see the energetics that's happening. So it could be pretty neutral. So it's okay. It's not great. But then it's like, how do I enhance this when we're looking from a 5-element perspective? So it could be, let me see, if I wanted to enhance a certain area, I may add fire element, because we're going to like bring that fire element in to neutralize these energies. And that could be in the case of like bringing in something red or into the space, like a piece of art that has some red in it, or it could be a plant. It could be a little bit of a water feature. It could be a salt lamp. And the thing is, each of those elements, and like just the fact that, I talked about the feng shui is about bringing nature in and balancing your home using nature. So we bring the elements of nature in, specific ones, to balance each area. And these elements are powerful. Like water, like just think about rivers and oceans and streams. This element is a powerful force. So is fire. It destroys, it creates. So we bring that in. We're not just like bringing something red in, we're bringing an element from nature into the space to bring harmony. And every house is unique, and every house has a unique requirement in every area. So that's how we do it. And you talked about organic shaped houses, the straighter and easier a rectangle is like a very easy house. The ones that have more strange shapes can lead to different areas. Like, say for example, if a house had a bit out of it, that could represent, had a client years ago, Magdalena. It was her family and community area. But when she moved in, she had a big falling out with her family, now didn't speak to them. They stopped speaking to her. And when we started working on the energetics of like doing a little practice to support that area, we were able to like create that space energetically. But like literally she moved in and it all just kind of disappeared, that area, but that area wasn't even there energetically. It's a very interesting dynamic. So it's like there's a lot of layers to the practice, basically.
Yeah. Patricia, Cecilia sometimes says I'm a very spiritual person, but at the same time, I kind of try to hide it behind logic and trying to make logic out of it. So part of my mind is saying to me, oh, Patricia, you are talking mumbo jumbo magic here. So why should it work? That's the analytic, normal boring side of my brain. And the other side is like, hey man, let's do it. Have fun with it. So can I be so direct to say, why should it work? Is there any... Have people done research? That's that part of my brain. How do you work with people like me? Like that.
So first of all, go ahead.
For a second, because people have done research for 5,000 years. You just don't respect it.
Yeah, that's that part of my brain. I'm sorry.
Because you want to convince your math teacher.
I don't know what it is. It's a part of me that haven't stopped being in that mindset. I'm there.
And I actually love that. And I remember one of my clients, he's like an accountant, was just like very impressed when I said to her, like, we run the numbers. And she's like, you run numbers? And I'm like, yeah, there's like certain calculations that we have to do. It's like that we follow this structure of these calculations, and that's how we create the analysis. So it's like an astrology chart for a house, if that's like certain woo-woo, but we also run numbers. And what's so interesting with that is also the funny part is like a lot of this is exactly how it works in most of my community. So my community are like 99.9% women. And they feel it like it's a very intuitive thing. Like they've bought a book about feng shui, they've always been kind of interested, and then they're like, oh, I just like your vibe, I'm going to give it a go, and they're like up for doing it. And then the logical like partners or husbands are a bit like, what's this thing? And ironically, what I've seen time and time again, and there isn't a week that goes by without us in our Friday wins post having a member who's like, my husband got a pay rise, my husband got a promotion, my husband got stock options, my husband got a new company car, because they have like no attachment to the results, like absolutely none. And they're just like, no. And it's almost, I don't know, it's like God's spirit universe saying like, we're going to show you. So like I have like so many stories and testimonials of people whose like husbands are like, I don't know what you're doing, but just keep doing that. Like, and now they're like helping them like a few years in. And you know, when I first started this journey, like doing it professionally 8 years ago, we had like our own personal wins, and like we did the feng shui, we'd like a 6-figure windfall, like very like literally weeks later, we've got like loads of things happened in our career and our business. Like I didn't start feng shui doing this to teach it. Like I just wanted to do it for our house. Like I moved in with Ken, wanted to do it for our house, and then people started asking me. So like even just the fact that I'm like still doing this length of time. But what happened was amazing, because each time we would like do it with a client, or then started doing it with more groups in our group program, like the results are the fuel for me, and I don't need to convince people anymore. I'm like, if you're not interested, that's okay. But like I've like hundreds of success stories of women who join our program and see success, and I'm like, I'm just interested in talking to them. And if you want to and then the partners by default like get the results. So it's just a fun one. And the account, like we've had engineers who are like, well, why do I do this? And I'm like, trust the part of you that has like led to this conversation with me. You know, like I always say to them, I'm like, trust that little part that like just, you know, give it a go, it's fun. So that's the kind of long answer.
I'm thinking about something. Because I did the feng shui hacks back when we lived in a house. And it usually worked. I usually did a big one every time my husband got fired.
Yes.
It was like, we have to work on the wealth thing again. And it was always fun. I always found it fun. I haven't thought about feng shui for quite a while because I don't have a house anymore.
We are full-time travelers if you didn't know. Yeah.
Now I have a van. And I'm just wondering
how to feng shui the hell out of that.
The hell out of my little van. Because, you know, it's so small. Yeah, let that be a question. We're 5 people living in a 7-meter van. I don't have a lot of options. You know, you can always start by cleaning up and clearing out and cleaning. That's like level 1, and open the windows. That happens all the time when you live in a van. So that's pretty simple. We do that every day as we're 5 people living in a van. So there's nothing to discuss. Repair everything that's broken. Done that. But then what? I mean, there's not much to discuss when you're living 5 people. 7-meter van. There's not much to move around. You can't even put up decoration. There are no walls. Would that be a challenge for someone like you to work with a van instead of a house?
Well, the thing is,
it doesn't have a location. It doesn't have a, you know, you can't do the whole angle thing because it moves all the time.
We can't do it with the van.
We can't do that. So how would you? I'm not the only one living in a van. Would that even be doable?
I have a client that we did some work together with she lives in a van as well. She didn't used to live in a van. We worked on her house and then balanced that, and then we did her helped her sell it. So she has her van. I like, the thing is what you've just said about the things that you're already doing, like you're already conscious of the environment, you know what I mean? You're even more conscious because you're living in such a tighter space, that alone is really important. I would encourage like building a deep connection with the van, like actually like meditating with it, asking the van, like, does it need anything else? What needs to come out? Because one of the things that unfolded years ago, I had like a client who was like, oh, I put my boundaries in and this isn't happening and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, go and just like meditate and ask your home for like, connect with it. And what does it want you to know? And it basically said to her, like, stop being so impatient. Like, it's happening. Like, it's the flow, you know? So after that, I've just been like, literally it's been integrated into my program to tell people to like build a relationship with your van, with your home, with your environment. It's still your home. And like regular space clearing, like doing some sage or lighting some incense and just like loving on it. The fact that you keep, like, you have in the background those things that are important, like clearing, keeping it tidy, keep organized, like this, fixing everything, all of that, you know, that knowledge. So you're already doing the feng shui, you know, you're doing with feng shui what you have. So mine would be deepening the connection with the energetics of the van. And then like also asking is to make sure that you park in the optimum directions. You know, like there's no harm with kind of setting that intention of like, okay, the next time we boat, we're gonna hit it so that when we do park and we're in a place, it's gonna just feel just right. And it's going to be supportive of us for this length of time in this place. Because every time it kind of sets, and you I don't know how often you move, but I know my friend, she kind of goes for a few weeks here and then another time. But no, you're
No, we move
unmovable.
several times a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
Okay.
are pretty intuitive about parking. Now, I was just
Yeah.
curious because there's so much about the feng shui that is about the location and northeast and the
Yeah.
sun and all these things and how's the moves
Yeah.
it has to be different in
For
some way.
sure.
Also a
Yeah.
house that is, I mean, all houses have a structure and you more or
Yeah.
less don't work with that, but with
Yeah.
a house on wheels where so many people live in so little space, there's not much to talk about. You can't move the sofa. I mean, there's nothing
No.
moves. It's all where it is. And I was just wondering, but you have worked with it.
Well, most of the time, like for me, especially even with the work I do, people like, even in our house in Ireland, our bed can only go on one wall. The couch only makes sense in one place. So it's like not necessarily the positioning of the furniture and things. So that's like less of the attach, you know, there's less of that. It is more of the energetics that we would work from a feng shui perspective. But then keeping mindful of like what you have with the van, like I think you're doing a great job already, you know?
Mm.
And right now we have been like 4 months in Mexico with a backpack in rented places, and that is actually a interesting challenge you gave us to meditate and love the place you are, because sometimes when you move into an Airbnb or then you see the faults in that place instead
Yeah.
of loving what is for the time you're there.
Yeah.
And I think I will bring that forward with us. Right now, we are living with friends for a month, and that's also wonderful. But again, it's not your own house. So how do you make peace and love with that little space of the house that you borrow for that time we are co-living, which is
Yeah.
I wouldn't change the co-living for a house these days because I really love it, but it is not the same as being able to control the environment in the same place.
Well, you're ultimately living like the most amazing. So I didn't tell you this, and I don't know if you have ever come across the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. It's an amazing book by a spiritual teacher of his journey of like surrender and moving with the flow of life. But I'm actually in Gainesville in Florida. I typically live in Ireland or Greece, and I'm a bit nomadic as well. So I really resonate with the fact that you go to Airbnbs. I'm in an Airbnb right now. I'm a feng shui master. And the first thing I did was I was able to obviously run the numbers of the place, but I changed a few things around, you know, and I'm in a place that's not that loved, and you know, it's the only one that we get because it was the closest to the Temple of the Universe, Michael Singer's meditation and yoga center. So, but it is about going with the flow, and like you're actually living feng shui. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of like you're in the the van or going to the air, like the travel, like that's living with the flow of life, like allowing flow to move through you. So whether it's like you're in the van or whatever, it's that like intentional conscious living, and wherever you're in, it's making that space sacred. You know, making that space be the sacred space, which is like really powerful. And in the Airbnbs, you're gonna, yeah, exactly, like love on and be like, oh my God, we're look at this, we have a home. Like the one winning point about this place is the carpet is amazing. I just want carpet like this everywhere. But there's so many other parts, and I just like, where can we focus our attention on like the really good things about the spaces that we're in and kind of amplify that appreciation? You know, co-living, you get to be and learn with these new people and their environment and see what's happening in their life. So it's a really, it's an amazing way to be living in that kind of flow, like already.
One of the things you said earlier also inspired me to, if we should travel with elements. And I'm like,
I think it's just interesting to talk to a feng shui master when you don't have a home.
yeah.
You know, because it's so much about, I worked with it when I had a house. So and I'm not calling myself a master at all, but I did work with it, and I did find it, you know, intuitively, I could see there's something going on here. And even like academically, someone has been working with this for 5,000 years. Who am I to challenge it? I could just try it out, see if it works. When I drive a car, I press the speeder, the car drives. I don't know why. And it's sort of the same thing with these kinds of things. I don't need the explanation. He needs it. I don't need it.
I don't ask the car why it works. You know?
Interested in the motor. I really don't care. I do know I need to put the fuel thing.
And I think,
no, but I'm just thinking now that, you know, feng shui for me was the first layers really are, you know, how about you open your eyes? How about you breathe? How does this feel? Get rid of the mess, get rid of the things you don't use, fix what's broken, clean what's dirty, tidy up. That's 85% of it, in my opinion. That's basically the most important thing. If you get that into a habit, you can start working with pieces of art and plants. And so you don't have to travel with a little bonfire thing. You just have to organize your backpack.
Oh, honey. We're not talking about that right now.
And also the idea of like bringing the elements, like, you know, bringing an element into a place without knowing whether it's going to be supportive or not is actually more dangerous, or like less, like more inhibitive than actually not. And what I would be saying, like and I say this to my own clients who are going, traveling, or staying in different guest houses, is that like, before you pick the place, like, you know, obviously we get mindful, like read the reviews, have a look at the photos, what's the sense of the vibe, like the art, like even the artwork in places can be really dramatic, and you're like, oh no, like if it's crazy reds or lots of like kind of, just sometimes they're just like OCD full of stuff, you're like, oh no, like, you know, so you kind of like, okay, where is the place that has the most zen, the most clear, like you can kind of, I always set the intention that it's going to be easy for me to feng shui. So like I just laughed when I got here, because there was like all these random things around the space, and I was able to literally feng shui the place myself with what was here. But I also knew what elements needed to go in different places. But for coming in and not having that knowledge like I do, I say like, bring your incense and clear the space, open the windows, organize your own stuff, and then also do a space clearing. Like, and that can be just with sound, it can be clapping your hands, you know, you can do something that's just like shift the energy, the old energy out. So like open the windows, clap your hands, like play some mantras or some music that just feels high vibe, and just kind of say hello. Like literally say hello. Imagine all of these homes, these Airbnbs, these places to stay, that like nobody has even kind of given it a bit of attention to say, hey, thanks, I'm so glad that I get to come here and stay here, like, you know, and connect with it and just feel like, oh, this is our home. And as a nomad, myself and my husband, like we typically travel like for a couple of months at a time in a place. So this is a short stint, like a month here, but like home is where we are. You know, that's our thing. Home is where we are, and then you can kind of like bring that out into your environment.
Yeah, I agree.
I have an incense question, because I don't know if I've been too much in yoga shalas around the place or just in shops where there's some incense where I really load the smell. Is there a good starter one where it's not like so overly dramatic?
I think that like even not even like use if you find one that you like so for example like Nag Champa is like the traditional one, but it doesn't need to be incense. It could be sage, it could be Palo Santo. I've even had people like use a sage spray or rose water, like, or Florida water, like something that's just going to have a fresh energy. So and you don't even need to use a smell. Like you could literally, sound is the most powerful vibration of all to clear things. So it's like clapping your hands, a saucepan and a wooden spoon, like banging around the place. Okay, we need to clear the place here for a bit, clear it out, open out, and you know, so even that is fine. Like I'm like making the place. I bought a candle for myself, and I just have it lit. Like it's beautiful. And like, that's how I was like, okay, that's going to change the energy a little bit when we got here. I was like, okay, get a nice candle that feels good. And that again is going to be shifting the energy. So you can, it's not about, I suppose, like there's some rules in terms of like Feng Shui that when I'm working with a client, I'm like, you've got to put fire element here. You know, there's that kind of, this is the rules. But then when it comes to like intentional and aesthetics, it's a dance, like with your own intuition and your own energy as well. It's like Trish said to use incense, and I find that with my clients, I'm just like, yeah, I said incense or this, like what does your house want, what feels good.
What would you say to people like your old 15-year, 16-year-old self who want to get started on their own? How do you start? Is there an easy way to start? Is there a book to read, or just what could you try out after having listening to this podcast just alone in your home? Like, hey, let me try this.
Yeah, sure. So a few of the answers. First of all, I have like a mini course called, like, that's $9, and it basically goes through different things and little videos and things to do and get started. It's called Feng Shui 101. And I also wrote a book called The Happy Home, that kind of gives like a very starting off. And one of the things is, and I don't know if you noticed, Cecile, but like, Cecile, when I started with that Feng Shui book that I got when I was 15, I started reading and I was like, yeah. Okay, yeah. And then it gets this whole sections of like numbers and complications and trying to figure stuff out. And I was like, oh, that's so when people started asking me, like, is there a book you could recommend? And I was like, oh, because I that complicated bit basically is what we do for our clients now. We're like, look, do this, get started, feel some shifts in your energy, get like into the momentum, and then if you need help, and we can help you further with doing the other, like giving you the exact things for your house. And that's how we ended up, like I wrote The Happy Home just specifically for that. So it covers like all the different aspects of how to get started, the history and how it works, and things you can do around your house. And then the other thing I think for people just getting started is just becoming conscious of your environment. You know, like it's like one of those things that can often be just taken for granted. And when you start to become more aware of your space, things kind of change. It's like a mirror. So if you want to change in your life, like change your environment. And you go away on your holidays, or you go to a different country and you're like, or you go to Mexico and you're like, you feel different vibe. It's the same, but you don't have to go away to change things. You can just change your environment. And it does make a difference.
It's actually the reason I find that, talking about feng shui on this podcast, where we usually, it's called Self-Directed, the podcast, and it's very often about education or career choices, how to create your own life, how to, sit behind the wheels of your own vehicle. But I found in my life that even whether you believe in it or not, having this framework of the feng shui gave me a way to feel that feel self-directed, feel, okay, something needs to happen with this. And I'm not flying to Florida to do a retreat with a master, or, I'm here. I have my many little children, and my husband just lost his job, and it's in the middle of the winter, and we're all sick and whatever. But I can work with this. I can work with our space. And it's not that it normally looked like something you don't say out loud, but you can always look at it from that fresh perspective and look at how is this a mirror of how we're feeling and what's going on, and what do I feel when I enter this space? Does it feel all right? It can very easily become a very practical thing to have a physical space to live your life in, or even to have a backpack, and you feel that, I have a backpack, and sometimes mine is chaotic as well. But, sometimes you're like, does it matter? I zip it and no one sees it. But then when I took the Karen Kingston book back down from the shelf and read it again, I would think, oh, it matters. Maybe I should just start in one end. And you suddenly feel very powerful. And as you said, the results, they do happen, and they do happen quite quickly. Sometimes not what you imagined, though.
Yeah.
But the changes, they have prompt. They're right there.
Yeah.
So that's why I found it in the beginning when Jesper was talking about it, was like, Feng Shui. But then, it's about, sitting. I don't know. This is a very Danish metaphor. What metaphor do you use in English?
Oh, sitting in your.
So the whole is about
taking control, taking the steering wheel. Yeah.
In Danish, we use a boat metaphor about, steering your own boat. Yeah. But so I just recommend it. I mean, I think people should read your book or take your mini course or find Karen Kingston or whatever makes sense and get started, because it makes you more powerful to make changes in your own life.
And it makes you look at every area of your life as well, because it's every aspect. So it's your health, your career, your family, every area. And, that's where you started. Jesper was about, like, I read that this area represented this in the chords, fixing that, like, it gives you more focus. So you're like, okay, I can focus on this area, and I can change, I can just get more intention, more clear. And one of the things I love to say to people is, like, you can make your home like a vision board for your future, or it can be like a shrine to your past. And like that idea of, like, and when I say here, even my clients, they're like, oh, I want to, like, that, they actually naturally now go, okay, well, my son wants to get a new job, right? I'm going to go and take some action over there in the career area and set up some things and help with this, with that. So they're helping their kids with, like, getting a new job, or for themselves, like the intentions for their partners for a new car, or whatever it is. They're like doing something in their environment to change it up, to set it up. So it's so self-directed. And it literally, I love this with my clients, is that, like, it's within your span of control. In our world, we have our mind, our bodies, our own temple. We know to look after our bodies. This is our vehicle for our soul. But our home is like it's like the heart of everything. It all starts here, and everybody is together in this space. So it's, like, important. And when you start to understand that and connect with it, it really is. There's just so much potential to support you. It's amazing. So I love that you've experienced it, and like, it's like, and you get it.
Yeah.
When I look back to the period we went through when we took our Feng Shui period, I also look back at it as a helping hand in a kind of couple therapy about cleaning the house in a way that then it wasn't about me being messy with all my wires or cables everywhere. It was about there was a goal I could see instead of just prettifying it, which made it, it released some tension about talking about why we did stuff in the house. Where earlier Cecilia have always have a better intuition than I had, and sometimes I was like, I don't want to do this. This is your project, and now I ended up understanding it better. Have you seen people use it as you can say, tool to talk about stuff in their life, in their house, in a way where it doesn't bring conflicts?
Oh, 100%. And like that is one of the big things is that like, you know, when I talk to say couples, I'm like, okay, or like women who were like, okay, let's start in your bedroom. Let's get that set up. So then we're like looking at setting up the bedroom, creating a sanctuary for your relationship. And then so it we and then it changes their relationship because they've consciously created this like let's look at our bedroom, let's set it up so it's for us, as opposed to this place that's like, oh yeah, our bedroom, we come go, there's things here, there's work stuff, there's pictures of the family. It's like, no, let's create our sanctuary for us. And then also what I've seen is a lot of our clients come together and start looking at their intentions for every area of their life together. So it's like it starts with the woman kind of going, okay, this is what I'm looking. And then it's like, oh, what are you up to? Do you want to write intentions? And then they bring the kids on board. And I've seen this where the children and the parents are all there sitting down. They're like taking photos, sharing a picture of like, we're all doing a space clearing together. Like the kids are banging saucepans, or the parents are sitting like thinking about every area. And that's like, you know, very unique and very special for everyone to be together doing something on like a kind of like, well, what are we doing about this area? What would you like? What would you do? Like, what is our so it really does bring people together.
It's about loving up your house. I like it.
It's about loving up your
Because
life.
it's loving up yourself.
Yeah.
It's loving up yourself and your life as well.
But also it's about doing it yourself.
Yeah.
I think some people, one of them being my husband, can have a hard time surrendering to the idea that there is this system to it and there's this level of, might even call it magic, you know, the things that you can't explain with modern science, which is actually a lot more things than that. But then you create within yourself this resistance. But if you can overcome that, and we did it by just playing, we call it play, you know, let's say it's pretty chaotic here. It would be more fun to clean up and if we put this grid over it and we call it the Feng Shui magic, and we look at, oh, if we clear out this area, it might be our health that could. So I just highly recommend to play with it. She said, let's call it Feng Shui. Yeah, let's just play and see what happens. Exactly. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. I did.
Are we at sorry?
I think we just at the very end, Jesper. I have one thing. I did listen to a Feng Shui master who did analysis of brain scans of a house, the energy of a house beforehand, like, you know, for the alpha theta brain scans of the energy of a house before it was Feng Shui, and then the house afterwards. And it actually showed that the people in the houses brains kind of settled and became calmer. Like it showed that they were able to move from that high beta into lower into a more calmer, relaxed space. So there has been some, and like maybe
now I love it better.
Of like
even more.
This is
now I can handle it. Thank you.
so just for that, I have had seen that, but I'm like now I'm like, okay, I need to do something like this, so I could be like, here's my proof. And I just love
but
that.
some of us men needs you know, the proofs before we can go. I know. But I also think it's very valuable to represent this part of the area, because some of us have this I need facts before I can believe in anything mindset. And I'm wobbly. I can do both. But Patricia, it has been both fun and lovely and giving to talk with you. And if people would like to get to know you better, then it would be wonderful if you would share your website address. You already mentioned that people could find this small mini course and your book. But please share a little about how people can come in contact with you and work with you.
Yeah, sure. So my website is patricialohan.com, and that's where you'll find the information about the mini course and my program Powerhouse, and also my book, The Happy Home. I also have a podcast, which I've got like loads of different episodes about all different like areas of Feng Shui you can dive into as well. And that's all under Powerhouse Feng Shui. So come and check us out and come and join and have some fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you so much.